Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our quarterly TeamConnect webinar. Today's topic is going to be a tips and tricks extravaganza, where we're going to review some of the top tricks from previous webinars and some new ones related to user adoption. My name is Regina Ide, and I am a Client Success Advisor here at Mitra Tech, and I will be leading today's webinar. Before we jump into the actual content, I do have a couple of housekeeping items for you. The first one is our poll questions, and you'll be receiving 2 poll questions during today's webinar. These help us create better webinars in the future, so we do appreciate your assistance in completing these questions. The first question is going to be, how did you hear about this webinar? And it should be popping up on your screen any moment. There is a section at the end of this webinar for questions, but you don't need to wait until that point to submit your questions. As you run into things, please submit them using the Q&A section on the WebEx, and then at the end I will cover as many as time allows, and any questions that I don't get to, I will reply to you via email directly. Finally, this demo and webinar is being conducted in TeamConnect 5. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. As I said, today is a tips and tricks extravaganza. Our first tips and tricks are going to be related to home pages and portal panes. And this is one way for you to configure TeamConnect so that it reflects the needs of your individual users or a group of users. Then we'll look at some configurable screens and messages. And again, this is another way to really drive user adoption by making TeamConnect as familiar and friendly as possible and really configuring it to meet your customers and company needs. And then finally, I have a few of my personal favorite tips from webinars conducted over this last year, and then we'll end with some questions. The first tips, as I say, are related to user adoption and really helping your users work smarter, not harder. That said, what is user adoption? And in a nutshell, user adoption is the mental acceptance and use of new things. Pretty simple definition, but we all know that resistance to change and to new things is nothing new. It's embedded in human psyche. Even though a change may be positive, getting everybody to buy into that change can be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to cover some things that you can do in TeamConnect to make it more familiar and really to kind of ease your users through this whole user adoption phase so that they're comfortable with using TeamConnect. The first thing that we're going to look at are our home pages and portal panes. The home page is the first page that your users will see when they log into TeamConnect, and we can make this really specialized to their needs. So as I say, the home page is the first page that your users see when they log in, and you can set it up so that you have a variety of different pages for different groups of users or even a specific user if need be. You could set them up by practice group, let's say litigation, contracts, intellectual property, or you could set it up more by a role for an attorney, a paralegal, invoice coordinator, or a combination of both. This one we have the first example is a litigation attorney. And this page shows portal panes that are really what make up your home page. It's a way of putting in a series of these panes of information. So the first one on this page is managing the matters. It's setting up a new matter with some search views. Then we have another pane for legal research, taking you through my pending approvals. These will be your invoice approvals for an attorney or budget approvals, pending tasks, and my appointments. And these are all related to the specific user that is logged into the application. And then on this homepage, we've also included a report that's showing the budget versus actuals for this year. This next portal pane is a little bit different. This one was designed for a paralegal and it includes a way to manage your contacts, manage your matters, invoices, some legal research again, listing this paralegal's projects, and my pending tasks. And this brings us to our first tip. When you're ready to start to create a new homepage, the easiest way to do this is to really start with a blank piece of paper. Decide how many home pages you need and who the individual users or groups of users will be. And then look at what do they need to see? What are their exact needs? Do they need to have links to matters? Do they need to be able to create new contacts? Possibly review invoices? What reports do they need? And really dig into what their specific needs are. Then sketch out what you want the ultimate homepage to look like, and they're ready to go into TeamConnect and actually start the creation process. So, as I say, homepages are created by putting together a group of portal panes. And the portal panes contain information. The portal panes can be used on multiple home pages, so you only have to set up each one once. You don't have to make multiples for each different home page. And going in to create a new portal pane, you go into the Setup tool. You're going to click to go to Portal Panes, and then click on New and start completing the information. You'll add in a title, a unique key, and the unique key does not include any spaces. So let you know that little one. Do you want it to show in the title bar on the home page? And do you want your users to be able to edit this piece of information or this series of information? This example is showing you a portal pane that includes a report. And any report that is in the native reporting tool can be added as a portal pane onto a home page. The second example shows portal panes that contain links to various wizards and matter creation pieces. So it gives you an idea of the different types of information you can include. When you have created your portal panes, it's time to go in and update the home page. And the first thing you're going to do is go into your setup, go to home pages, and select the home page that you want to add portal panes to. Then you're going to go into the Content tab, and using the drop-down list, this list contains all of the portal panes that have been created, and you can just add them in. Once you have your different portal panes on the page, if you'd like to rearrange them, you can use the directional arrows that are in the upper right-hand corner of each of the portal panes. Once that's done, you will save and synchronize your settings and your content. Then our next tip is creating a new page from scratch. So this is not a home page that you already have that you're editing. You're going to start from the very beginning. You go into Setup again and go to your home page. And at this time, instead of selecting an existing home page, you click on New. You're going to go down and you're going to update the name, the title. Do you want this to apply to a specific group of users? And the groups of users are set up by your system administrators. Do you want the users to be able to edit the home page? You do want to make it visible to them. And then you're going to go into the content. And once you're in content, then you can select the portal panes and arrange them the same as we did previously. When you're finished, you'll save and then synchronize the settings and the content. So at this point, I'm going to actually go into TeamConnect and we'll look at how to do some of these things. So I'm in TeamConnect, and again, we're on the home page. This one is showing my litigation attorney, but I could have another page that is just for attorneys, general attorney. So do one for a contract attorney. So you get the idea that you can set up as many home pages as you need. I would say that you probably don't want to do one for each individual user. That gets a little bit too crazy to manage. But you could give them the ability to edit the home pages so they can make it even a little bit more personalized. So now I'm going to go in and set up some portal panes and show you how all of this really comes together. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to open up and look at some existing portal panes, show you how they're set up, and then we'll create a brand new one. So you go into Setup, hitting Go To, and I want to go to my portal panes. And what I'm going to do on this one is actually create a portal pane that includes a workload assignment report, and then we're going to add that to an existing home page. So at this point, I'm going to review and make sure that I don't have anything here already. And since I don't have this one set up, I can click on my new. It's always a good idea to search through and make sure that this portal pane doesn't already exist. You don't want to duplicate work if you don't need to. This is my workload assignment. And I've done this one already in the system, so I'm going to give it a revision number of 3, just so that I know which one we're working on right now. I'm going to assign the unique key, again, does not include any spaces. I want it to show up in the title bar, and in this case, I'm going to let the users edit their home page. So now I'm going to go down and select my content type. This is going to be a custom content. Now we're going to add the label. What is this report? I'm just going to go back to my workload assignment, add my unique key. And these do not have to be exactly the same. It's just easier in this example to do it that way. Since this is a report, we're going to add in a class name, and this is actually where your report is located. So we get that information from your system administrator. We can put the order of where we want this to show on the portal pane. I'm going to give it an order of 10. As a basic best practice, it's good to spread your orders out by increments of either 5 or 10, so that if you need to add something in, you've got some space there to work with. And then you can set the alignment for your report. On this one, I want to have it a left align. I'm going to go ahead and save. And now I can go through and edit my parameters on my report, And this is where I'm actually going to select the report that I want to use. So in this case, I'm going to go down to my workload assignment report, click on that, and click OK. At this point, I can synchronize my settings and synchronize the content. And we have now created a new portal pane that includes that workload assignment report. So now that I have the portal pane created, I'm going to add it to my paralegal homepage. I'm going to go up to going to my actual home pages this time. And I'm going to select the home page that I'd like to edit. So this is going to be my paralegal homepage. At this point, I can go into Content, and I'm going to select the portal pane that I want to add. So by scrolling down to the bottom, we'll see here's my Workload Assignment 3 report, and I can add that. If I don't like where it's added it here toward the middle, I wanted to move that up or down, I can use the arrows. I'm going to move this over a little bit. And now I'm going to click on my edit parameters because I just want to make sure that everything is correct. And it's telling me that I forgot a step and I need to save. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just want to edit parameters because I want to make sure that it does have the correct report, and it does. So all is good. At this point, again, you need to synchronize your settings and then synchronize your content. And we've now added a portal pane to an existing home page. So the final thing that I would like to demo for you is how to create a brand new home page from scratch. So at this point, I'm going to go back in, I'm going to click my home pages, and I'm going to hit New. At this point, I'm going to create a home page that's going to be for my transactional attorneys. So I'm just going to put trans attorney. And on this one, it is actually different than the others. You cannot have a space in the name. We're going to make this a common home page or a group home page. At this point, I'm going to select group. Now it gives me a whole list of the different groups that have been set up by my system administrator, and I can pick out my transaction attorneys. I do want it to be visible, and I don't want the attorneys to go in and make changes to this particular home page, so I'm going to leave this one checked. I'm going to save, and I'm going to go into my content. And now I can start adding the different portal panes that I want to use on this one. Since this group of attorneys, really invoice approvals is their major point, I'm going to put in the pane for my pending approvals. We'll add that pane. I also like to have them be able to do some legal research, so we'll add one for legal research and see how these are going. And then you can add any other portal panes that you would like. Let's just see if they have any complaints and add. If you wanted to rearrange them, again, you could do that using your different directional arrows here in the upper right-hand corner of each portal pane. I'm going to save. And again, I need to synchronize my settings and synchronize the content. Then there's one additional step that you need to do to make this new homepage visible to your users, and that's to add it to global navigation. So I'm going to go into my global navigation, and I'm going to add a subtab. So I want this in my home area, so I want this to be a new tab for a transaction attorney. See, it's added one down here for a transaction attorney, and then we save it. And that is really all that there is to creating or editing home pages. And next, we'll go into some ways that TeamConnect can be configured to really make it more personal and specific to your users. Let me get back in here. There are a few ways that you can really make TeamConnect unique to your company. And this is by adding some hoverovers, and that's exactly what it sounds like when you hover over a specific piece of text. It's going to give you the information that is contained in that individual record. We'll look at wizards, which are a way to guide your users to adding new content to the database. And then also look at the notification template designer. And this tool is used to create your own email messages that will go out based on rules in the application, and they can replace the rather dry, basic system-generated messages. So it makes it more personal and configurable. So going in first to hoverovers, we're going to look at each of these areas, and then I will do another live demo. But if you click on an area that has a link on it, it's going to give you the information that is contained in that record. So actually, I'm looking at a dispute, and it's giving me some of the basic information on that dispute. Who are the parties, when it was created, who is my main assignee, and so on. Now, the content that is in these hoverovers can be configured by the system administrators. The next piece that we'll look at is wizards. And wizards are a really nice way of guiding your users through a data entry process. So let's say creating a new matter. And if you want to create a new matter, you can go through each of the individual screens, item by item, and complete the information. But they're not always organized in the same manner that you collect the information or have it available when you first open that matter. Wizards are a way of really summarizing what you absolutely have to have, what are your mandatory fields for opening a matter or adding a contact, etc. And then also tailoring it for specific groups. Do you need just a real basic advice matter opened, or do you need a more complex litigation matter opened? So they can have all of that information. It also provides drop-down lists and a way to ensure data integrity and good reporting. And it's just really, I think, just a super way of getting information in the system. The third one in this section is going to be on the notification template designer. This is found under the admin tab, under admin settings and the notifications, and you'll see these are the ones that we have set up on this slide. Each of these messages is really designed to meet the needs of that particular recipient of the email. This page shows you a sample system-generated email. It gets the information across. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of bland. Now, the next one here shows the same information, but we formatted it a little bit differently. We've added some links in, some rich text formatting, highlighted the due date in red so that makes it very obvious what they need to do and when they need to do it. And it really is a more personalized message. All of this is done in the notification designer. So again, I'm going to pop back into TeamConnect. And we'll take a look at each of these items. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at the hoverovers. Now, if you need to edit the hoverovers, it's going to be done in the Setup tool. I'm going to click on Setup, and then you need to decide what object you want to go to. I'm going to do Object Definitions, and then go into my Dispute object. Now that I'm here, I'm going to go into my search views. And you'll see a list of all of the items that are there. Get them for complaints, so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and open up a hover over and take a look at everything that is in it. I'm going to look at my All Disputes hover over. And you can see that you have your name and view information. If I go into the results display, this is where it's going to give me the individual fields that have been selected for display. And you can add more going in and just selecting them. In this case, I think I'm going to go ahead and actually add a closed on date on this list. So I'm going to go in, it's going to get a column name. So I'll do closed on. Select my closed on date. It is not going to have any custom information on it. Going to decide that I want the date only. I do not need a time. Add the order, and here again, best practice is to use some increments of either 5 or 10, and then we can just go ahead and add more. So now it's added my closed on date in here. And at this point, save your record, and you are done. You have now edited the hoverovers. Next thing that I'm going to look at is just look at a couple of the wizards that have already been created in the application to give you an idea of really how easy it is to open a matter with a wizard. And I'm going to go into my legal, and I'm going to open a new matter, and I want to use my two-step wizard. So you can see that we have a few different ones mattering on what we're doing. The two-step is a nice example to use. So I'm going to give it a new matter name and a matter description. I'm going to decide, is this a significant matter? And if I say yes, then it's going to require that I put in a reason on why this is a significant matter. Do I want it to be security other than the law department? I'm going to keep this one as law department. Now this has a rule associated with it, so it's adding in my assignees. I'm going to change this so that Harmony is my main assignee on this matter. I can go down and I'm going to select my categories. So we'll say that this is a labor employment, and we'll call it a discrimination. And I can set my primary category as well. So this will do a primary of discrimination. Click my next key. And now I can complete these other fields that are generated based on the category that I selected on the previous screen. These are not mandatory fields, so I'm going to go ahead and just finish my record. And at this point, it's going to create my new matter, and we're all set. So it's a real easy way to guide everyone right through that entire process of opening a new matter. Wizards can be used on contacts as well as matters, and I really think it's a super tool. The next thing that I wanted to show you is going to be our template notification designer. So I'm going to go into my admin tab, select admin settings, and then notifications. At this point, I'm going to create a new notification, and we'll add some information to that. So this is going to be a closed matter. And you can see I've used this example before, so we'll add a 3 to it this time. And my key does not have any spaces in it. And it would help if I could type. I'm sorry about that. Closed matter. On that one. Is it active? So I want to show up on my list. We'll click it active. And this is just this is a closed matter notification terms. This is going to be used on dispute matters only. So I'm going to click on dispute. Now I'm going to go into the email itself, and I'm going to start adding some information. And actually, I need to save and view before I do that. Oops. And I lied. It needs a subject line. So this is a matter closing notification. And now I should be able to save it. There we go. At this point, I can add in the body of the email information, and I'm just say that, matter, and then I want to include a link to that matter. I'm going to go down and select that. And this is going to be in a dispute. It's a system field. I want to put in my matter ID and insert. So now it's added my matter ID. I'm going to close on. And again, I'm going to go in and select information. So closed on date and insert that. And I can put in the rest of my email information. I'm just going to say that we need to please submit invoices within 30 days. Now at this point I have the text that I want, and I can go ahead and use any of my rich text formatting on it. And that's all there is to creating that notification message. These notifications are used with rules so that they will automatically be sent out. And I'm going to go back into PowerPoint here, and we'll talk about some of my very favorite tips from webinars conducted in the last year. And my first one is regarding global search and the use of fuzzy search. And I think everyone knows that global search is a really fantastic research tool in TeamConnect. And to get the most out of global search, you can use different Boolean codes. These might include your AND, an OR, wildcards, a fuzzy search, a proximity search. In this case, I really like the fuzzy search because it's going to help me in cases where I know what I'm looking for, but I may not know the exact spelling. So I may be looking for Kathy, but I don't know if Kathy is spelled with a K or a C. So in this example, we have done a search for Baker using the little tilde at the end, which is the designator for a fuzzy search, and it's come back with Packer and Baker. So it gives me things that are going to be similar, but not necessarily exactly the same. The next tip is from our webinar on controlling outside counsel spend. And one of the really nice ways to help with your invoice review process and thus controlling outside counsel is the use of validation rules on the invoices. These are found in setup, and we'll go into TeamConnect in a moment and look at these in a little more detail. But each of the rules can be turned on and off, and then they can be configured to actually include specific dates or UTVMS codes and so on. It can warn on invoice line items, or it can actually be set to do automatic adjustments if they do not comply with that rule. So it's a really handy way of controlling your outside counsel spend. And then my final one today is going to be from our webinar on creating and modifying native reports. What we're going to do is look at the way to copy an existing report and edit it. This is a great time saver when you just need a report that's slightly different. Why go through the entire process of creating a brand new report when you can copy and edit what you've already got in the system? And so we're going to do that as well. So I'm going to go back into TeamConnect here. Excuse me. And I'm back in TeamConnect. First thing I'm going to do is go in to do a fuzzy search. So what I want to do is I'm going to search in my contacts for Susan. But I don't know if it's Susan, Suzanne, Susie. I just know that her name is Susan. So let me put in Susan, my tilde, click on search, and we'll see what results the system will give me. And you can see that I'm getting several different Susans here. If I scroll down, I have a Susanna and a Suzanne. So you see how it really pulls in things that it thinks are similar to what you were looking for. The next thing I want to do is go into my setup, and we're going to go into the invoice validation rule settings. And these are where you're going to set your rules for invoice review. One thing to keep a note is if you don't see all the rules that you think you should be seeing, go in and make sure that you're looking at all rules and not just active or inactive rules. Then you can go down and see that the rules that are active and how we want them to work. Going down on this rule, it's telling us that the maximum billing hours for an individual timekeeper cannot exceed 8 hours per day. And I could set that if I needed to 12 or to 10, whatever my company has decided is the correct number for the day. It tells me that this is where I'm going to find the text that will go in that message, the warning message that shows up on the invoice. And do I want to adjust them automatically? And if so, which codes do I want to use or which reasons do I want on that? Also, do I want to check for that 12 hours across all invoices or just in this one individual invoice? So am I checking just on one matter, or do I want to see if this timekeeper has billed 8 hours for December 1st on 5 different matters? Couldn't have worked 40 hours in one day, so definitely want to catch that type of information. So that's an example of what you can find with the validation rules. And close the setup. And the last one I'm going to do is go into reports. And we're going to copy a report and make a minor edit to it. So I'm going to go into my workload assignment report. And it's going to run my report quickly there. I'm going to go into properties. At this point, I can create a copy of the report. So it's telling me that it's making a copy of it. And save and view. And I forgot to change the unique key. So it's going to require a new unique key. So let me go ahead and fix that and save. Now I can go into the data, and instead of looking at both disputes and transactions, I'm going to edit this so that I'm just seeing disputes. I don't need my transactions anymore. And save those changes. And at this point, I can run the report. And I have my new report that only shows my disputes. So a real easy way to create a new report based on one that you've already got and really simplify your life considerably. So let me go back into the PowerPoint presentation. And we're getting toward the end of our day, so we have the final poll question for today. And on a scale of 1 to 5, how beneficial was this webinar to you, with 5 being the most beneficial? I'd like to introduce you to our new Client Success Center, and this is going live for TeamConnect very soon. We don't have an exact date yet, but some of the information is live, so you may see us sending out links to information within this Success Center. But within the Success Center, you're going to be able to find information on all of our previous webinars, the recordings, some tips and tricks, some how-to videos, documentation, just all sorts of really good information there to help you with using TeamConnect to its full potential. So that leads us to questions, and ask you to please submit your questions, and we'll get to as many as possible during this session. I don't see any questions coming through, but we'll leave that open for a few minutes, and if any do come in, I will answer those to you by email. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll hope to see you soon. Thank you.